What do you think of how the media covered Gamergate?
I think they covered their asses. I think it was largely a smear job designed to delegitimize us because we were criticizing them and we were criticizing their political views.
Did you reach out to any journalists or media outlets who wrote articles about Gamergate to correct misinformation?
I attempted to several times. I wrote several letters to, well, not physical letters, emails to various sites. I wrote comments on a number of games journalism articles, like I wrote several comments on Kotaku articles, and most of the time they filtered those comments, and of course mine never even got approved.
Did anyone in the media reach out to you for an interview to discuss the movement?
Nobody at major publications.
Anyone at minor publications?
A few, like, people like you, streamers, bloggers, stuff like that, asked for my opinions on stuff, and I gave them. I volunteered my thoughts.
So few of the...
I actually had a discussion with the YouTuber Peter Coffin once that was pretty productive. And it was sort of, well, I'm here to convince you to like Bernie and socialism. And I was like, I already like Bernie and socialism. And he's like, wow, maybe you guys aren't all right. All right.
It's obvious why the games press has an incentive to paint Gamergate a certain way. But when mainstream outlets started to cover Gamergate for the first time, why do you think that they didn't try to reach out to people on Gamergate for the most part didn't try to reach out to people in the Gamergate side to hear their side of the story?
I mean, for the same reason. The media is insular. It's extremely politically slanted. I mean, so many of these gaming journalism sites are subsidiaries of the same megacorps as major mainstream media. I mean, consider that Kotaku at the time was part of Gawker, which was this huge media network.
Did the media's coverage of Gamergate harm your credibility and trust in the media?
Enormously. Enormously. These days, I fact check pretty much everything I read in the news, if I can. I basically assume bias until proven otherwise.
Is there anything that they can do to regain your trust?
It would take a long time. It would take a lot of effort, and it would take a lot of gestures of good faith, in terms of, frankly, I think some people who committed major repeated ethical breaches and who are still doing it to this day at many of these publications would have to be fired. Like, Taylor Lorenz at the Washington Post. That woman literally goes around doxing people all the fucking time in one of the largest media platforms there is, and they just let her do it. People like that should be let go because that's horrible.
What do you say?
And if they took steps like that, I might start to trust them again. And they would obviously have to start, having more viewpoint diversity in the newsroom, more diversity of perspectives in how they cover these issues, a lot less sensationalism and clickbait. I don't think it's very likely to happen.
If a journalist or games journalist who got Gamergate wrong is reading this right now, what do you want them to reconsider?
I would ask that person to look at the course of our society over the last 10 years, to look at the presidency of Donald Trump, the rise of the alt-right, the rollbacks of certain legally enshrined rights, etc., etc. And I would ask them if they think our society has been on the right course or the wrong course since GamerGate happened. And I'm pretty sure that they would say the wrong course. So maybe they should consider what they could have done differently and what the media institutions they work for could have done differently over the past 10 years that might have prevented the course that we're currently on. And if maybe their bad behavior and the erosion of the credibility of their institutions had a role in people becoming so polarized, in so much radicalization happening, and in the media losing its ability to act as a check on dishonest politicians like Donald Trump, because they have lost so many people's trust that people just assume that they're lying as much as he is and don't know who to believe. That maybe if they had been more responsive to criticism and more willing to reach across the aisle and work collaboratively with their critics, some of this stuff could have been diffused before it became so ruinous to our political discourse and the course of our society. If the tactics that they've been using for the last 10 years had this result, then clearly those tactics don't work.
Have you seen the Wikipedia article about GamerGate?
Yes.
What do you think of that?
I think it's awful. I think it's obviously biased. I mean, what did they change it to just recently?
They called it a harassment campaign in the title, even.
Yeah, Gamergate harassment campaign. They changed it from Gamergate incident or whatever to Gamergate harassment campaign.
Yeah, it used to be Gamergate controversy, I think, but I could be wrong. On the
Yeah,
exact title.
it was Gamergate controversy before. And this is just so obviously biased, and it completely ruined my faith in Wikipedia as an institution. Because
it used to be so good. It is good in a lot of ways. It's a great resource,
I mean,
but then
if
they
you wanna
lied
look
about
up,
this specific thing.
yeah, if you want to look up an obscure chemistry fact, Wikipedia is perfectly usable. But when it comes to anything remotely political, remotely controversial, it's worthless, because what ends up the Wikipedia article is whatever the highest ranking admin and the most obsessed editor managed to scream and repeatedly vandalize and ban all of their dissenters until they got the article the way they wanted it. And it's a well-known fact that woke humanities departments in universities have run things like Wikipedia edit campaigns, where they mobilize students en masse to edit Wikipedia in particular ways to reinforce their political biases. It's very clear that Wikipedia does not actually stick to its neutral point of view rules.
How important?
They just there was no even pretense of democracy to how that article, or how many other articles on controversial topics on Wikipedia, was formed. They just got themselves into positions of power on the site, banned people who disagreed with them, and forced their way from the top down. It was completely contrary to Wikipedia's stated mission, and it destroyed the credibility of the site.
How important is it to you that the narrative, quote unquote, on GamerGate change?
I mean, I'd love to see it, but at this point, I don't think it's very likely to happen.
Be the change you want to see in the world, right? Why don't
Yeah,
you?
but I'm never going to be able to edit that Wikipedia article. It's locked down tight by obsessive social justice warrior admins who make it their mission in life to make sure that it reflects their ideology.
Have you considered
To
writing
the
a
point
book?
to the point that years later, they're still editing it to make it more biased and more obviously a smear. I mean, that's nuts. To be still editing the title to try to make it more hostile all of these years later. I'm not going to be able to change that. You can't. The one of the biggest problems with the structure of most internet websites is that they're completely top down. There's no real democracy. One person has the highest ranking admin account, and they have absolute power. And every admin below them has absolute power over everyone who's below them, and every moderator has absolute power over the normal users, et cetera, et cetera. And there's no way to vote these people out. So I don't think that can really be changed at this point. It's just a problem with the general structure of sites like that.
What would a decentralized, or maybe not decentralized, what would a more democratic or more ideal in your eyes type of website look like?
It would be possible to elect and remove moderators in similar positions.
Have you ever considered writing a book or documentary or any other project relating to Gamergate to try and maybe correct the record on this?
I would never have the level of free time necessary to produce a published book on this.
Okay.
That
And
I mean, in an ideal world, maybe, but I just don't have that kind of free time.
this next question.
But I'm helping your book. I mean,
You
we've
are.
been at this all night.
It's been fun. Except I realized I have 2 of these scheduled back to back. On this weekend.
Your
Literally,
estimate,
I'm not
your
sure how this is gonna
estimation
work
was
because they're
before
they're gonna overlap possibly.
Yeah. Your estimation that these were going to be 2-hour interviews was wrong.
It was very
I
wrong.
figured it was wrong, but it was really wrong.
Yeah. Oh my god, dude, how this is gonna be so much. Just the transcribing this. YouTube might partially transcribe most of it, but I'll still have to go in and. Oh my god,
Dude,
this
you're
transcript's gonna
fucked.
be huge.
You're fucked. I do not envy you having to do this.
Here, I was starting to think it might be easy.
No. You're going to be lucky if you get this out by the 10th anniversary of Gamergate, if it's all going to be like
No,
this.
I'm not dedicating my life to this shit, dude. I'm gonna soldier through this and get through it in 3 months tops, ideally.
Good luck, man. Good luck.
Ideally. Auron, has your conscious experience as a human been made worse to any degree because of the negative media narrative about Gamergate?
It does not feel good to be fair game like that. It does not feel at all good to read those kinds of attack articles, to deal with creepy Reddit stalkers, to listen to the increasingly unhinged things that social justice warrior types say about their outgroup. And I have to admit it, they probably feel the same way dealing with horrible shit people on our side sometimes say. But no, it is not particularly fun to engage with all of this. I do this kind of activism because I believe it's necessary and because I believe that if somebody doesn't, things are going to go to hell even more than they already are. I don't do it because I think it's fun.